This is the first interaction with the nurse for Dr. Bates.
Might be a little bit off today.
This date is June 24th,
I should go up.
1:10 p.m.
I mean, it's just stuff that should have been handled for months. I think when I sent you guys 4 months ago, I know Dr. Bates would have had these tests run immediately, and I'd be a lot probably further along than where I am now, and maybe I might have a little bit of spine damage, but not at the rate that it is. And I actually looked at the physical therapy they were having, especially the overhead stuff, with they gave me this toy system, which turns out is actually real bad when you have neck damage. And I don't blame my therapist for it. Ryan, our Ryan Spencer, a really nice guy. But he was just going by what the doctor said. So if the doctor's giving this information, what are you going to do, right? So, but at least Dr. Bates, I did see, I think maybe, I know last doctor you got to like bad house.
Oh yeah.
So I think he might have crossed some of the records and he put the wrong date in for a few things, and I called, and Katie fixed the dates, except for she didn't initial. And I just found out when you're dealing with insurance companies, work comp, and all that, whoever makes the change, even though it was done by the doctor's office, you have to initial it and just put a small note, changed because of wrong date put in.
Gotcha.
And she didn't do that, so with the pre-hearing this morning, it was brought up, but not really in a big deal, because what I sent them came directly from you guys, so I just copied it from the email, did the, what do you call it, screen?
Be like a screenshot.
Yep, and then sent it to them, and I'm like, this is the corrected version, this was sent to me by the doctor's office. Send it to them, and then they also didn't have copies of health images, I haven't seen you guys yet. So I sent them my copies of health images. And that's the relationship I built with health images when I was there the first time when they found the 27 minutes. And they said, do you want us to send these to you as soon as they're ready every time? And I said, yes, only because if I don't see the doctor for 3 weeks, I have to know, hey, what can I keep doing and what should I stop doing? And when I saw this, I was like, okay, so this explains the stiffness, why I can't turn my head all the way to the right, why when I look down, it feels like the floor's going to jump up and pop me in the face. And then the autonomic storms, and I guess according to the paperwork, it said something about, I guess there's spinal fluid, but it's putting pressure on a nerve or something. And I was like,
Right?
but it's 100% all attributed to the accident happened when I turned. I guess in a way, well, it probably wouldn't have been better if I just stood there and let it hit me on both sides, because I wouldn't be here right now. It's way over 800 pounds. When you have something 800 pounds coming down at you from 4 feet above your head, not a good thing. There's nowhere to go. And my first thing, and this happened within 2 to 3 seconds, so my first thing was that when I realized I couldn't hold the weight anymore and it was digging into my right side, was to pull and try to get away from it. Not the best strategy, because I mean, I did go down to 1 knee, but you know, and thank God it stopped where it did, because there were pylons in the MBI. This thing is like 20 feet long, so you had 7 feet in the center between the 2 pylons, and then the extra hanging out on both sides. So the stuff that was hanging out on both sides, when it came down and it hit both pylons flat, that's the only reason why it didn't drive me into the concrete. And I have some pretty strong legs, not monster calves. And I did have one doctor, he tried to talk to me about diabetes, but took off my shirt. huge upper body. I have a very small stomach, and I have a size 32 waist.
Yeah.
And under health conditions, though I weigh 200 pounds, of course not, I weigh 190 since the accident. That's still because of my size and my build, and I'm 90% muscle. This little thing right here, no big deal. And it's only there when I slouch like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And if this wasn't going on normally, I stand up straight.
Yeah.
So this is, matter of fact, that's why I pulled this up, because it's better for me to do this than what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. Takes a little pressure off.
So,
I'll go get your chart together for you. And then get Dr. Bates in there.
I appreciate it, thank you.
No problem. You're welcome to sit anywhere, wherever.
This is that way. Yeah, that's fine.
For anyone listening, this is the actual recording on 6/24 at approximately now 1:10, 1:12 p.m. Eventually, Dr. Bates comes into the room about 1:23. The appointment was supposed to be from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So if you hear a little bit of downtime here, it's not actual dead space. It's waiting time for the accurate amount of time before the doctor actually comes into the room. This was a really rough day. I wasn't feeling good. It helped to actually talk to somebody. But I was experiencing a very light autonomic storm on this day as well. But there are certain things I've learned that you can do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And there is no medication for autonomic storms. There's no nerve blocks. The problem with a nerve block, if you experience an autonomic storm, you can still have the symptoms. There is no pain medication that will make these go away or divert them and stop them from happening. The sound that you're hearing is I'm trying to get the records together for the doctor to come in, and I have a disc to get him to come in. Which he rejects, by the way. Also, at this point, I'm actually sitting on the table because I cannot sit down on the chairs, which sit closer to the floor. My first initial contact with this doctor on the 16th, I had to look up at him, and it caused a lot of pain in my neck. So to look up or to look down, looking down for more than just a few seconds, unfortunately gravity seems to want to work, and I feel like I'm going to hit the ground. Looking up causes extreme pain. And in case you're wondering, that was a motorcycle going by, if you could hear it. I'm actually at my house doing this recording because I have a opposing counsel by the name of Gail Benson, who is trying to force me to see this corrupt doctor again, this malpractice doctor. This recording is being sent out and made public to show the corruption and how this doctor attacks me for contacting his office about the mistakes on the paperwork, which I considered a mistake at first, then realized later after he attacked me it wasn't a mistake, it was intentional, but he got angry when I called him out on it, which you will hear. This recording is coming directly from the device in which I recorded this doctor on. I had no intention of recording him until they had given me a hard time over the phone about the mistakes. And after my pre-hearing for workers' compensation on this particular day, which took place about 9 a.m. on the morning of the 24th. So this is a continuation of that day. At this point, we are 13 minutes and 37 seconds into the recording. Mind you, I went in this room to meet with this doctor 5 minutes to 1. Therefore, for anybody in medical billing, if he billed you an hour for this, it's going to be inaccurate. The device that I did record this on, which we are recording it from that device right now via Bluetooth, not only has the date, but it has the time and the full length of when the recording was done. This is something that cannot be falsified, so it shows the actual time and the actual date and the duration of that recording. This is actually me getting ready to sit on the bench again after they had given me a glass of water. I was very dehydrated this day, very lightheaded. Everything kind of seemed dim. Funny thing about this particular doctor's visit is they never even turned on the lights in the room when I was speaking with either the nurse or even when Dr. Bates comes into the office, he never turns the light on either. I may be in a lot of pain and experiencing all these different symptoms, but I'm doing everything I can to keep my mind fresh and remember everything as it happens as I turn it in. I believe this is one of the big controversies between myself, True Blue, which is also the insurance company and the employer, and Gallagher Bassett. And it should also be noted that Gail Benson at this point in time still thinks that she is the nurse who can make appointments for me when she is not qualified. She is not a nurse. She is a attorney who went to school in Florida, came to Colorado to practice, but she has no nursing background. She is not a nurse, and under ethical rules and regulations, she is not allowed to talk to my doctors. She has to deal with the TPA or the employer directly. She cannot have straight contact with my doctors. She has no authorization, but she is one of the people that has been in direct contact with this doctor's office as well as the last doctor's office. This is a violation. I've already spoken to the Supreme Court about this attorney and all the laws and rules that she's broken, and they have not acted yet. Supposedly she's under investigation. I did report that this same particular day, the 24th of June at 9 a.m. to the pre-hearing judge, Jessica Eisman. Or excuse me, Judge Jessica Eisman. And I believe that the continued retaliation, even what's going on with this doctor, I believe is retaliation because I turned in not only this doctor for their wrongdoing, the last doctor for his wrongdoing, but I also turned in the attorney who's broken rules 1.1, 3.3, 2.4, 8.4, as well as many other rules and regulations, and I even sent her an email on it. So Rule 1.1, 3.3, 4.8, 8.4, 4.3. These are all rules that attorneys are bound by. If they don't follow these rules and regulations, they can actually be disbarred. If they go beyond what they're supposed to, they can actually go to jail for fraud, and in her case, she can get in a lot of trouble. As pretending to be a nurse, putting herself in charge of medical care between an injured worker, which is also the opposing counsel, is a violation of law, and she could actually go to prison for 5 years. That is the law. We will see what the Supreme Court actually does, since I've already talked to one of their attorneys, which I will be putting in another complaint again tomorrow after she had sent a demand telling me I still have to see this corrupt doctor, which is against the rules of workers' compensation, even though it's the second doctor that's being provided, and they only provided this doctor because I threatened to expose them and go public, which now that's exactly what I'm having to do. So all this information is now public knowledge to pull in public support. Corrupt doctors, corrupt insurance companies, corrupt attorneys should not be on the streets. They should all be in jail. The doctor should be entering the room within the next minute and a half. This is doctor entering the room. 22 minutes.
What's going on?
Feel like crap. How are you?
I'm doing okay. What's happened since I saw you last? Sounds like you were having some issues with the gabapentin.
Yeah. No offense, but yeah, I want to get your recommendation. I wasn't. That same night, they did get it to me that same night. About 6 or 7 o'clock, they had it ready for me.
Uh-huh.
And I went home, and I had that bottle of ibuprofen I brought in and showed you. So I had that, and I had the other pen side by side. The bottle was like similar, and I ended up taking one out, and I kind of looked at it, and I didn't even pay attention to the bottle. Because the ibuprofen wasn't a big, wasn't one of the problem solvers or problems. So I took that, and I ended up going to bed, and I was restless throughout the night, up and down, and I got up, and that's really weird. That's not what he said should have happened. I should have been able to sleep all night. So I went downstairs, and I looked at it, and I realized that I had taken an ibuprofen. So about 7 o'clock, I opened the bottle and took one out and realized it was a tablet, which means I didn't have to crush it up. I have to, for the ibuprofen one, I had to crush up because I can't swallow pills. That's a big thing for me. So I got a glass of water, drank into a glass of water, and I kind of looked at it and I was like, well, if this is going to make me drowsy, I should probably sit down. So I didn't have any plans for that day, so I sat down and I only took a sip. It went in seconds. My throat swelled up, my tongue swelled up. It literally felt like my tongue was going down back my throat and it turned on around a storm. The symptoms lasted 3 days. Not the storm itself, but the... So I called here. I let them know, I think it was on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let them know on Friday, and she said, well, you know, the doctor won't prescribe something else. I said, you know what, let's just wait. Let's find out what the results say of what's happening, what's causing this, and I think we'll have a better idea. So I put on a lidocaine patch, and I moved it back and forth from my shoulder to down here. Of course, I had extreme pain, so it really didn't make a difference. And then when it wore off, I had nothing, since I had another arm started. This was even worse back here. And so over the weekend, I used lidocaine patches, used the ibuprofen, which brought it down, the pain level down to about 7 or 8. And then before I came in today, I think it wore off like about 9 or 10 o'clock last night, and you get to have I think it's like 12 hours between these. So that's why I actually brought this. And like right now, I'm extremely overheated. I have the pins, the needles, the tingling. And I almost feel like I'm going to have an automatic storm. So I'm trying to, I notice when these things come on, yeah, if I stay calm, it, what's a good word? It subsides, it's there, but it's more there in the background as long as I don't do anything to aggravate it, trigger it, make it worse. So, and just a little while ago, I could really feel it coming on, but so I went and asked if I'd use the bathroom, went and used the bathroom, so I relieved my system, and one of your nice folks gave me some water, so, yeah. So that's deal with that, and then I found out the only side effect of gabapentin is not tiredness. And many of the side effects are actually hard things that you go through in autonomic storms. And so I had a pre-trial hearing this morning. I was supposed to see the IME on the night. And that was kind of brought up because we talked about Dr. Baker and how, you know, had I seen you first, obviously you immediately called for the test that should have been done, that he should have done. And we kind of talked about that, and I said, and we talked about the reaction to the gabapentin, and I brought up, yeah, it was a bad choice, but you also didn't know, and I'm sure by now you got the results back from health insurance.
No, I haven't gotten
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so they sent me.
Keep in mind, this is the first lie that the doctor just told. He said that he did not get the results from health images for the MRI results. And this is a lie because they actually sent them to the doctor's office on Friday. Now this is on the 24th, so by the 20th, his office actually had them because health images sent them to me on Friday. And so now this is, like I said, this is on the afternoon of the 24th. So right here, this was his first lie. And I even offered him my copies to look at so that we could go over it together. And I also offer him the disc.
With this, and actually you should have it, because I have a copy.
Yeah, let me look again, let me search again in the top.
Yeah, because if I have it, you guys should have it.
Yeah, I'll search for it.
But yeah, I have severe spine damage,
Okay.
which explains the autonomic storms. It got fed into the system broke down everything, put it all together, and how it attributes to what I'm going through.
Now, mind you, at this point here, I'm also explaining to him that because I had nobody there for me to explain this to me, and I do have a medical professional in the family, but I didn't want to hit them with this because this is an irreversible thing now. It's not just arm damage. There's a serious condition here. And I still haven't said anything to family about this.
When you say it got fed into the system?
The AI, because I didn't have access to a doctor, and I couldn't give it to family over the phone, and after I found out something about this, and I'm really concerned, and I don't want this to be presented to family yet. But
now I'm explaining to him what I found out. Now, the information that I got came straight from the medical journals. It also, part of this information also comes from the division itself, and at this point, there really isn't a whole lot that anyone can do. And I mean, it's been over a week now. So I mean, this is something I'm still coming to terms with, and I'm having to change my life. And this recording, I'm trying to explain to him what I found out. He didn't. One of his big things here is he didn't like the idea that I was able to turn to an AI model who was able to pull this information directly from medical journals, from medical papers, from other programs that doctors actually use, and they have to put their information into, and research models. So this is what I'm explaining to him right now.
Because of my condition, and supposedly because of my age, and I hate it when they do this, it says someone in my condition with a life expectancy is about 7 years. It's not acceptable. It's not something that...
Now, what I'm explaining to him about the 7 years is when this was put into the system, and it pulled records directly from workers' compensation and how they break things down. And this particular condition, for some reason, and I believe it's completely wrong and they shouldn't do this, but the way that they base you is if you have this severe condition and you have the autonomic storms and all these things, they base on what they're going to help you with at 400 weeks. And they only do it at 400 weeks because this condition is not supposed to get better in most cases. In most cases, you get quite a bit worse. Autonomic storms are deadly storms that can indeed kill you. And this is in medical literature. And the thing with that is, keep in mind, this research still continues, but the majority of the research right now is not favorable to the individual.
Discussing with my family and having a sister that's a doctor, I don't want her to put that together and start telling the rest of my family.
Why would you like expectancy?
I don't know, but that's according to the state of Colorado and all the medical jargon and the nonsense, which really aggravates me. And I'm not saying because you're a doctor or anything, but this is how, like, because I'm also having to deal with this work comp nonsense, this is how they feed it into their system. And I'm like, this is nonsense. They say, according with all this, that they do expectancy of 400 weeks, which is 7 years. And I'm like, yeah, don't even, that makes me angry.
Are you talking about like your hearing stuff, like?
No, so if they...
Now, at this point, keep in mind, I'm not talking to him about the pre-hearing stuff. Notice that he brought this up. Here's the thing. This is very questionable of why he would bring up the pre-hearing stuff, unless someone contacted him, because that was not something that was actually discussed. So I think at this point now he's trying to figure out where how I was able to obtain this information. But this information is based on a rating of someone in my condition, and this is something a lot of people don't know, people don't look into, and it's a really bad deal for any worker that's injured. And so that this is what I'm trying to talk to him about, because when I found this out and this medical report was explained to me, yeah, it's not a good situation. It's a bad situation. So when I found this out, and I thought about it over the weekend, and here I am seeing him on the 24th in the afternoon. It's very concerning. And I mean, this is something you're supposed to be able to talk to your doctor about. But I think in this case I had a little bit more knowledge than technically I should have had.
They've been trying to close this out for 3 months. So a month after it happened. And they've been trying to deny me any medical care. And every time one of you guys run a test, it comes back and it says, yes, you've got this, and it's attributed to this. And
now what I'm doing here is I'm actually explaining to him what's happened since the 20th of February. it isn't that I haven't seen other doctors. I have seen other doctors. I've seen 2 main doctors. Now this is going to be one of them, and this is actually Dr. Bates I'm having this conversation with on the 24th of June. The previous doctor was Dr. Baker. Unfortunately, because Dr. Baker did not approve any test to be done, the only time a test was done is when a specialist came in to check me out, which that happened only because Dr. Baker had gone on vacation for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it was. By then I had seen 2 other doctors. One did a x-ray of my shoulder, but not my arm, not my neck. And at that time I had a huge hematoma about 2 inches long on my rotor cuff area of the upper shoulder. Dr. Resch, I believe his name was, actually ordered the MRI. So this was, and the MRI came back, said I had tears and underlying tears in the shoulder. They never MRI'd the whole arm though. And it was stated in that record that if it got worse that they were supposed to do an arthrogram. Dr. Baker specifically said he wasn't going to order any testing because it would cost the insurance company money and I would end up being put in a financial hardship, which this is a discussion I had with this particular doctor, Dr. Bates, in my first encounter with him on June 16th. We had that conversation and he didn't seem to hold Dr. Baker very highly, but then he started doing the same thing as Dr. Baker by falsifying information in his records. Now, keep in mind, this is my second encounter with this doctor. When they kind of gave me a hard time on the phone, when I turned in the problems with his inaccuracy from the 16th, at that point I decided I didn't want another 4 months with another Dr. Baker type character, so that's why I'm actually recording this particular visit with this doctor to see where it goes. Because I didn't record Dr. Baker until 4 weeks after his mistreatment.
Is how it all fits together. Every time this happens, more stuff gets fed into the system. They also tried to tell me this morning that they didn't have the records, which I know for a fact they do. Because Imaging Center sent it to you guys, they sent it to me, they sent it to the attorney, and they sent it to, which I just found out this morning, my employer is also the insurance company. And the Gallagher Bassett people are TBA, TPA, whatever they're called. They're a mediator. And I was told that they were the insurance company. And so every time something didn't get approved, when they didn't send me to a doctor, I'm yelling at these people when I should have been yelling at the insurance company. And it was literally the workers' compensation division unit made me aware of this a half hour this morning before the pre-trial.
Now keep in mind, we're not even supposed to be having this discussion. He's supposed to be going over my symptoms with me, and he's not. He hasn't. Now we are now so 30 minutes and 49 seconds into this my appointment with him, which has been more than 10 minutes since he's come into the room. It's been about 10 minutes. At no time does he start going over anything with me. He's more into knowing about what I'm doing with the case instead of getting straight to the medical stuff and the report. Keep in mind, as I said, so when he came into the room, he had no paperwork, he didn't have my chart, he didn't turn on the light, came in, closed the door, so we are in it's not a dark room, we can see each other, but it's a dim room. So, and at this point, he's also kind of leaning against the wall talking to me, and I'm sitting on the bench or the bed, whatever you want to call it, and my feet are actually on the stool, since it sits up a little bit higher. And I specifically sat there so I could look directly at him and not have to look up at him.
So that really took it to the next level, and I'm extremely angry that this kind of stuff is allowed to happen, that patients aren't told the truth right off the bat. But I'm not the average patient. This wasn't supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be making movies right now. This was an intentional thing by disgruntled employees, fueled by a supervisor, and anyway.
I don't know that,
medical
I know you've got, there's other aspects to this that you're
Yeah,
working through.
the medical
It's really not
problems.
substantive to what I'm gonna do, what I can do for you.
Well, I told the pre-hearing judge this morning, I said, at this point, I've come to a realization. All my current...
Now, here's the problem. Here's the thing with this. So right about here is where he gets ready to give me the 3rd degree for calling into his office and turning in the mistakes that were made on the paperwork. He shows his lack of appreciation for that, to where any other doctor would have said, hey, thank you for, letting me know. I understand how important this is. Well, any honest doctor.
What I can do is say, okay, this is what I can recommend to do so we can help get rid of some of this pain. Am I aware that this is irreversible? Yeah, I'm 100% now that this is irreversible. I'm also aware that if I would have saw you 4 months ago and you would have ordered these tests, there was a chance of stopping some of this and it wouldn't have been prolonged.
Now this is where the doctor lies to me for a second time.
And some of the stuff, well, yes, because the physical therapy that I was doing, the pressure I was putting on places that I probably shouldn't have been putting it on. I'm sure your therapist, or even Brian, my therapist I had at Occupational Health, had he known the full truth, he would have did things differently.
When you go look at your MRI real quick, let me pull it up, okay? Give me a second.
If you want, I can actually let you see the record.
Let me check in, let me pull it up.
Do you need this?
No, I can see the images online.
Okay, so right here at this point, I'm convinced that I know what he's going to do, and he's gone long enough to actually make a phone call, and I don't believe, because he wasn't gone long enough to actually look at any images, because he came back in with the paperwork in his hand. So he wouldn't have had enough time to look at the images, and if anything, I mean, he should have gone over images with me, and he did not. So here we are waiting. Now, what I'm doing at this point is making sure that my device is able to record this conversation.
So he denied to look at health images information.
Now, when he comes back in, he also gives me the 3rd degree about calling in and talking to them.
20 after.
And yes, you will notice that I am voicing my frustration out loud, but at a low tone. And I sound loud, but I'm sitting real close to the recording device. Also keep in mind at this point he knows that someone has explained these symptoms to me before he has.
Ooh. Where's the emails? Ooh.
Also keep in mind, before he comes back into the room, that I told him I'm trying to keep myself calm, but you will see how he tries to get me worked up to trigger an autonomic storm. And keep in mind, I'm not feeling good on this day, and I'm doing everything I can to stay calm. I'm extremely upset because I found out these conditions. And then he lies to me on top of that, and then he tries to forcefully, well, you'll hear it, he tries to start an argument with me. And I believe it was intentional so he could try to trigger this autonomic storm.
Oh, God.
We are now 35 minutes into this.
Oh.
He's been out of the room for about 2.5 minutes.
Ooh. Ooh.
So this is going to be the first part of the recording, and we're going to pick it up on the second part of the recording in here in just a moment.